your highest purpose, your highest potential.
Wow.
Let's live it. How do you live it? And we need people to stay strong no matter what we're exposed to now. So that's why we also created, can't you make it smaller? Well, we made it smaller. We have our EE medallions, EE bracelets, which helps maintain the integrity of the DNA and the red blood cells, which are that same donut shape, right?
What is the difference between this and that, really? Because on one side, which we'll get into, this is a whole different, monster that we're tackling over here.
And this is the baby.
Yeah, this is the baby, right? So what is the difference in terms of effects? Because the question was, do you have any smaller versions of that? And as a matter of fact, I'm wearing
These are pretty portable. They're very handy.
So what would be the difference between the two for those who don't have access to, let's say, a center that has this in their state or country?
Yeah. Well, these, these literally have lots of reported miracles where they've put it on somebody in the hospital in a coma and they've watched them come back to life and things like that. Because again, it reminds the body, of that infinite light, life, source, energy. So, we see miracles with them. The medallions are stronger than the bracelets.
Okay.
They do like a 5-foot cocoon. So people sleep with them, they put them wherever, they pass them around. Instead of aspirin for pain, they put them wherever there's inflammation. For vision improvement, which is one of the things we hear the most, is vision improvement.
Wow.
At every level. Because it's decalcifying the pineal gland, etc., and that ultimate, meditational states. So people see things, they hear things, they get their the clearer the questions, the clearer the answers.
Absolutely.
And so I talk about letting yourself know whatever God wants you to know. Let yourself know whatever there is to know, the knowing of which allows all things to be totally clear as issues in your body, your life, your relationships, your family, your community, our whole world now. So that's part of, that going into that, when you know. It's going beyond belief or theoretical, intellectual. This is about embodiment. When you know, you know. And so let yourself know what God wants you to know. Ask and you shall receive. So people use these for meditation. This says the 5-foot cocoon. Of course, our Stanford, Harvard biophysicist, Dr. Glenn Ryan, did lab research with the medallions and found a 28% increase in the electrical conductivity. That's your cell signaling. It's all the coherence. Coherence is very, very, very important principle. Coherence, no impedance.
Wow.
So coherence in the body so that you stay strong no matter what you're exposed to. But it's 28% increase in the electrical conductivity of human DNA itself, just from the medallion. The bracelets work a little different because they're on a pulse point and the blood runs through it.
Okay. Tell me more.
But what we're dealing with is extreme radiation poisoning on the planet. I mean, people could look. I've done talks on that. We've been fooked. Now what? From Fukushima.
Big time.
That was considered. I was working with NASA physicists at the time to bring the solutions of advanced radiation poisoning or advanced radiation remediation. We want to, that's one of my projects is, for the planet, advanced radiation remediation, cleanup of the oceans, of Fukushima site itself, the land, etc. And I can say unequivocally, we have everything to heal and fix and cure. Everything.
Absolutely.
But that was an extinction level event in itself because of the radiation levels. Now we've seen an acceleration of that with the 5G, etc. And another celebrity doctor, guru doctor, did testing with all these different things that's supposed to work against 5G, and all these things that are supposed to protect from it. Well, protection from radiation, protection from 5G doesn't work. Protection from, as a principle, doesn't work. Because the more you protect from, the more there is to protect from. Whatever you focus on expands, and all that creates is more fancy victim, because the more there is to protect from.
It's a very strong statement and a very true statement that you said, and I want to expand on that for a second for everybody that's watching. Of what you focus on is what you're making stronger. And just restating what you said in a different way, because it's very true. If you're protecting from something, in a way you're even resisting that something, because you're strengthening it by saying, I have to protect more and more and more from this thing. You're giving it more power, therefore it has more
giving
power.
Giving it power over.
Exactly. And I just wanted to highlight that, because it's
really an important principle, and that's why I say focus on what you want, not what you don't want. Yeah. Very, very, very important. We have to create what we want, you know, for our life and our world. We have to be the ones we've been waiting for. And so this is to help embody those principles so that you stay strong no matter what you're exposed to. But he tested all these things that were, including shungite, which is a great stone, but the only thing that actually worked on the 5G was this. And you can see this like a satellite receiver for the technology and that kind of thing, but it's because it creates a transmutation of energy into beneficial, like electrical precursors for the body, kind of like that. So it's a transmutational effect, which is very, very different. Let's make it beneficial.
Understood. You mentioned that 90% of where this technology is in private homes. The key over here is obviously making it as accessible as possible to more people in the public, because it's not necessarily affordable for the common man around the world, and we want to figure out a way to make this more accessible.
It needs to be everywhere fast.
That's the question, is do you have any direction or solutions, direct solutions of how we can change that ratio from being, instead of 90% of all of this incredible technology that's out there in private homes, get it 90% accessible to the public? How do we do something like that?
And there are beautiful centers all over, but there needs to be a lot more for the people, because we've got so much to heal at this point. So much to turn around and so much to heal. Of course, I do a lot with the military. There are 1,100 wellness centers planned for veterans and their families.
With this technology?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, I've done a lot with veterans in the military. And
you mentioned these centers. I know you have centers, not necessarily yours, but certain individuals are purchasing this technology and then using it to heal others on like hourly sessions or sessions for a period of time. My family has done that in multiple centers in New York and New Jersey, and we've seen incredible impacts, beneficial impacts and effects. Is this something that anybody can do? Can anybody go, choose to open up a center, get this technology, and start providing it to the world?
Yes, it's really interesting because, like I said, it's not one-on-one. We can fill the rooms with 100 people at once. Sometimes we do that. It's many people at once. You can't heal the world, time and energy intensive, practitioner dependent, doctor dependent. This is like, how do we just bring healing energy for communities? And we don't make any claims. We don't, or the technology itself doesn't heal, fix, or cure anything. The power that made the body heals the body. And this is like a wireless human battery charger, raising the cell membrane potential, raising that cellular millivoltage. It's quadrupled mitochondrial activity in 1 hour, which explains all the rapid nerve cell regeneration, for example. Quadrupled mitochondrial activity, that's your power plants of the cells. And that's what's, we documented that when I lectured at the Royal Society of Medicine in London and did a pilot study with 9 people. Yeah, and we found those also bringing the pH into the proper pH of all the organs. There's a lot of research that we've done, but quadrupled mitochondrial activity is very highly significant.
So it's pretty much bringing everything back into harmony with itself.
Yeah, and cancer, for example, we're meant to be functioning at 70 to 90 millivoltage when healthy, right?
Okay.
Cancer can't exist in the body till it's below 20.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I can show you some of the acuggraph research and things that show where it's been brought up to, from 21 to 80 is one of our examples in 1 hour.
Wow.
Yeah, the millivoltage of the cells. So it's literally how do you plug the body into the cosmic light socket, and this is just healthy energy. That's it. It's just creating a healthy energetic environment that supports the body and consciousness in healing, which means wholeness. And wholeness is also about remembering the holiness, the sacredness. And so letting go of the desecration that we've all been through, the total desecration and violation from every direction of the sacredness of our bodies and who we are, all that we are, and all that we're here for.
For those individuals around the world who would like to step up in that invitation that you put out, both men and women who want to step up and be a part of creating that change with at least helping bring this out there, how can they go about, for those who choose to create these centers? And by the way, what I love about that action that can be taken is it's twofold. It's giving somebody the ability to give back while also creating a business that gives back to people simultaneously. And that's how I see the toroidal field. It's not you have to lose so I can gain.
Right.
It's we can all work together to gain together in harmony with one another, where what you called the masculine, the feminine become in love once again and create that oneness in that unified field. So for those individuals who want to step up and take action to say, I want to bring this out there, I want to learn more about this, I want to open up a center in my town or village or city or state or whatever it is, how can that individual go about doing something like that?
Yeah, and it's pretty easy as far as, the technology. There's many ways to install. I mean, we have centers that just have cubes, but that's, ideally like your father and your aunt, they went to a 24-unit system. That's another whole world, because the 24 is more the geometry of the DNA. And then there's just recliners and things. And so it runs 24/7 because it's the energy going through the planet, like Tesla's work, right? It's like Tesla's. And it's each system that goes in expands the fields exponentially so that all supports. It's a really unique. So it runs 24/7, and all you have to do is put people in or let people come in and take a power nap. Because how it really works to recharge, it's kind of like when you're recharging your cell phone. As long as the eyes are open, 80% of the body's energy is being externalized to deal with the environment. When you close your eyes and go to, all healing is in delta and theta brain states. That's where the repair, rejuvenation, regeneration is. Literally regeneration. You want to close the eyes, go to those deep states, do your meditation, focus on what you want, and go to the deep states where the body can internalize all that energy and use it to literally regenerate from inside out. So it's a power nap.
Literally.
Yeah, just like your cell phone, if you're still talking on it, it might keep it from dying. I mean, it's not like it's not working, and we have miracles with their eyes open too, every day. But, your cell phone doesn't recharge as efficiently if you're still talking on it.
Correct.
If or it's like rebooting a computer, defrag. Coherence, creating coherence through the systems of the body.
So would you say that a 24-unit system, when it comes to a center, is probably the best?
That's the best.
You can get?
Although our clinicals have been with 4s and 8s primarily, because 8 units is 10 times better than a 4.
And it's always even numbers.
Yeah, because it's phase conjugation. They're precisely aligned. With lasers, you were asking about this before, how they're aligned, because the alignment, the precision of the alignment, we're trying to get that to within 1/100th of an inch tolerance.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's because and think about it, if one's out, it creates a wobble in the, a distortion or a wobble in the field, and if it's out too much, it's like a tilt-a-whirl. That's what's unique about these is 4 units internally that are precisely aligned, and then this creates like a photon fountain. going out. You know, so
it's interesting because as I look at you, I see there's like I see in my peripheral vision where what I see right now on the side is not what I see when I look straight at it. I see different lights on the screen when I look at you in my peripheral than I do when I look this way. I actually see patterns on the screen right now as I'm looking at you in my peripheral. It's very interesting. It's like what's embedded within that you can't necessarily see right off the bat, but it's coming at you through that form of light.
yeah, it's interesting. It's like a photon fountain. The downside of these, I mean, we created these and they don't have to be installed. That's the upside. They don't have to be installed. We ship them all over the world, especially during the last couple of years with dealing with all the issues that people are dealing with. They've been shipping all over the world. It's the, you know, the mini version. It took a lot of dealing with the prototype to create, you know, so this could go out. But you can't get your body in the middle of it so easily. It works, but it's kind of the slow boat. And we have miracles with it. You want a couple of those?
Please.
Yeah. I mean, so one of the prototypes that went out, and one of the initial ones were, you know, it has some commercial applications, and this actually went out to commercial application, part of that 28% reduction in surface tension of water. That's some of the research. So reduction of surface tension has some commercial applications. Another topic, but that's also a lot of how it works in the body. If the water, you know, water is 28% decrease in the surface tension makes the water more hydrating. The body's mostly water. So that creates all the fluidity, but also a lot of aging is simply dehydration. Acute chronic dehydration. So, okay, so in this commercial application with a cube in the back of a shop, you know, the bottles of water are all bubbled up, you know, the 5-gallon bottles, because it's really releasing the active oxygen and hydrogen, and, you know, it's having those effects on the water. But, okay, so it's in the back of the shop. The guy 2 doors down is a veteran. You know, like I said, we've done a lot with veterans, and he needed bilateral knee replacements. You know, bone on bone, the cartilage was gone, and was in excruciating pain, and he had a gym 2 doors down from the cube. Well, he'd come visit and what have you, but he realized all the pain in his knees were gone, so he canceled his surgery. Now, he now squats 475 pounds on those bad knees, right?
Not anymore. No bad knees
when
anymore.
When I talk about regeneration, we've seen anything and everything. Body wants to heal.
Yeah. And
so, yeah, that's one example. The woman across the way with the Chinese restaurant, 83 years old, who had macular degeneration and cataracts, inoperable cataracts. So she was blind, so she was selling her restaurant, but she started coming in. And she goes, I can see what's going on. I can see. So she went back to her ophthalmologist and found that the cataracts were completely gone. And 83 years old. So I guess, and then that encouraged us to try to make sure that we develop the prototype further. But that's the kind of miracles but it was slower, you know, as far as in the time that it took than in the bigger system.
I want to see this in as many places as possible.
It's pretty, right?
I mean, it's very pretty. It's nice. It looks cool. You know, it even looks good. It's not like it's this, you know, it's this like thing in the room that you don't want there. It's a piece in and of itself.
It's kind of like a structural form of art. Yeah. It's the way we didn't even really develop this. My son, who you met, worked on this and worked on this. We had done a number of things similar, testing things, and he worked on this to get it ready to go. You know what I find,
but
originally he developed it as an art piece.
I mean, that's exactly what it is. What I find amazing is when it comes to the centers, for example. Again, I know these. I mean, the cube is cheaper than a 24-unit system, granted, but when you open up a center like the ones they have in New York or New Jersey, let's say, you're spending like $50 an hour for something that would be not only an extraordinary amount of money through surgeries and everything that somebody would go through, but it doesn't do what it should do because of the conventional way of going through medical procedures. It no longer does anything because it's just physical. So when I see something like this, it's accessible. It does the job from the root. It bridges the physical world and the spirit world. And it brings all that together in that, what you called a unified field. It's a win-win-win for everybody.
It's an energy spa where you can regenerate.
I want to ask you a question when it comes to something we said in the beginning of this interview, which really piqued my interest when it comes to this technology, healing modality. You as an individual, your history, your work. You mentioned to me when we first started talking, and I didn't know about this before, that TLS approached you sometime around 2011.
Right.
Can you share a little bit more about that? I know that there's a connection between this, you, and the organization. I want to understand from your perspective, from your experience with whatever you're comfortable with sharing, what was your experience with that encounter? How long did it last? What was your reaction, response? Give us a story here.
Well, it was interesting conversations initially, and basically it was about I was doing all the work. And I said, but I couldn't possibly do any more work than what I'm doing already. And they said, don't worry about it, just know that you're part of. And when it's time, you'll know more, and it'll be brought forward more. But that initial contact was July 11th, which is interesting, of 2011. So
about 11 years ago.
When I go back to looking at the initial invitation and being brought into that and talking about transduction, being recognized as a transducer in that system.
Which is interesting because I don't know if there's a connection between that and this, but for example, in the most recent disclosure interview, Disclosure 3, there was a method that Ray actually shared called transducing. It's spelt differently. It's done for certain purposes of being able to, for positive purposes, manipulate certain situations in order for them to get through certain things. Usually on the dark side of the equation with the dark people that they have to neutralize in certain situations. But even when I brought that up to you and you heard that, you felt a connection between what you were called and that. And again, I don't know how all of this connects, but I'm sure.
And the work we've been doing all this time.
Yeah.
We've, waiting for this time,
So were you ever asked to be initiated into the organization?
I don't remember if I was specifically asked to be initiated. That I don't remember.
I understand that somebody by the name of Humphrey Angels brought TLS to your attention. Can you share a little bit more about who this man is and if we could have a better description of him?
Yeah, Humphrey Angelus is how he says it. He's originally from the Philippines, he's Filipino background. But I met him when we were doing, it was, what is it called? We were given an award by the Chinese Qigong Grand Masters, by the International World Qigong Conference. So I met him at a World Qigong Conference where we were given an award for producing the Qi technology, because this regenerates the source Qi and the Wan Qi. And it was the first time in the history of the world that the Chinese Qigong Grand Masters had given an award for a technology. That was crazy. But he was there with the Shaolin. He's very highly trained in Shaolin techniques, etc., and very, very special, very conscious being. And we recognized each other, and we both have been recognized as fulfillment of certain prophecies. And I had actually, years before that, had somebody sent from the Philippines to find me, and had validated, just like you checked and validated who I am. They came to and validated and then said that I was part of the release of the gold from the tunnels in the Philippines, etc., the caves.
Without even knowing it.
And this was so many years ago. I mean, I think that was many, many years ago. And that was before I met Humphrey, and so we had that immediate connection with the projects for, this, what my guidance has called the great transference of wealth.
What is Humphrey's profession, position? Who is he exactly? What does he do in the world?
Oh, geez. That's a good question. He's been off doing filming and stuff. Bringing forward awareness, but actually wanting to organize people into leadership.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was kind of his focus now, and that's part of what we'll be doing. That's what the councilship that I was invited to be part of is more of a councilship and leadership of bringing people together to create the new. It's like there's a destructuring of the old systems. We've got to create the new systems. You can't even begin to fix how broken the old systems have been. Mm-hmm. So we've got to create the new systems of community, of life, in abundance. We have everything to heal everything, a new heaven, a new earth through us. Let's create heaven on earth, 1,000 years of peace. I mean, all that kind of prophecy. So that's what he's very much about.
There's so much that we can go into just based on that. But I want to...
So much to heal from all of that.
Yeah.
And yes, and yeah, this is the, everything they talk about with the med beds we've been doing, and that's part of, and I know we talk with Ray, you talk about the extraterrestrial and how they've taken them off planets. Well, I was asked to create the technology that was on the ships that they called the recalibration chambers.
Wow.
On the ships. That's what this is. I'm going, you want me to... In fact, when I got told to do all this, I'm going, you got the right channel? I'm blonde here. Of course, I'm the one that does the double blonde studies. That's what everybody jokes about. But it's like, do you have the right channel? You want me to do what? Because it was a whole download of what was to be done. And part of it was to recreate the recalibration chambers that were on the ships.
Okay. What'd you do with that?
Because it's for putting the DNA back when you go through hyperspace or go to different planets or do different missions or assignments or whatever. Mm-hmm. How do you put everything back in its original divine matrix, so to speak? That's what the recalibration chambers are for.
Have you ever worked on that?
Yeah.
Big picture. There's two questions. How can I support your work to help further expand on it and reach more people? And what can all of us do together to help support this and get this out to the world?
Awareness is power. But the only thing beyond love is more fully shared love. That's what we're being called to do. It was divide and conquer. We have to come together, unified field of consciousness. We have to be the greater community, and we have to share. Not just hold information to yourself, because the more we speak truth, the more others step forward and speak truth. If people are holding back out of fear of prosecution, persecution, that creates more fear of persecution, right? Mm-hmm. Just like you're doing. It's so important that you share the knowledge, share the truth, that we share with everybody with ears to hear, eyes to see. Christ said everything he did and more we're to do. Let's get on with it. We have access to unlimited power, infinite intelligence, unconditional love, should we choose to accept it. And I talk about it's time to quit just sitting on your access. Okay, and access that power, allow that power to rise up from within you. Spinal column is meant to be that standing column or wave or a pillar of light in the temple of God. And when we all stand together, God wins. So yeah, this needs to be out to everybody. Now that you know, you have accountability, responsibility, to share. Let's get it everywhere as fast as possible.
The only thing I'm going to ask of everybody, and I'm going to actually look at the camera and say this, is I hope that after hearing and seeing what you saw here, with all the very interesting connections that were made, do something. If you're not going to go and open up a center, go and share this with people that have that ability, that have the resources to do that, because we're all in it together to be able to help each other and share that love, as Sandra was saying. So I encourage you all not only to share this video, but take responsibility. And I like how you broke that up, responsibility. You have the ability to respond if you choose to. And instead of asking what's going to happen next, you have the ability to create what happens next. We all do, through something called free will. The purpose of this interview is to bring more awareness to light about light technology. A lot of you have been asking about medbed technology. This is very close, if not better, than what some of those psychopaths have in their power and in their hands. And thankfully it's in the right hands with Dr. Michael. So I ask you all to do what needs to be done, use your free will, exercise that free will, and let's get this out to the world, because that's how we're going to make a change. Dr. Michaels, thank you for your time, and thank you for your endless effort. Thank you for standing up. I know that there are risks that come with this, and you do it selflessly. So thank you, and I love you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me share with everybody, and let's get her done. We've got a whole world to heal.
Thank you.
Aloha.